Welcome everyone to the long-awaited review on Mastermind, How to Think Like Sherlock Holmes. Konakova's book, Mastermind, How to Think Like Sherlock Holmes, is among the most well-known and most well-respected books pertaining to deduction. In fact, she possesses a PhD in psychology, and according to the prelude of the book, has a sentimental attachment to the stories of Sherlock Holmes, and has used her considerable knowledge of psychology since then to unravel Holmes's methods. Upon first picking up this book, the reader might be inclined to think that it is simply a how-to guide to deduction. However, upon reading the first chapter, they would find that they are in fact wrong. There are a few books that delve into Holmes's methods and how to apply them. However, what I think is what sets this book apart is that it is so much more. The first three parts of the book focus almost entirely on the neurology and psychology of the entire process. It's only until the fourth and final part where she goes in depth into the deductive methodology and practical applications of the mental techniques which she before explained in the first three parts of the book. In all honesty, there's so much I could praise this book for that I almost do it an injustice by simply condensing it into a short video review. She expresses that deduction hinges on certain mental factors, chiefly mindfulness and motivation. The rest of the book details how mindfulness works and can be applied, and how to have a proper motivation. In order to solidify her presentation of concepts, she frequently brings up different psychology studies, and even presents the reader with many thought experiments that were used in said studies, in order to show the reader how their mind can be tricked when they're not being mindful or thinking outside the box. And these thought experiments help keep the reader motivated throughout the reading of the book, as I found. She also presents the biases that are commonly found in our thought processes, and how not only our decisions, but also our thoughts themselves are constantly influenced by our biases. Now, in addition to giving us the bad news, she also explains how one can fend off those biases and obtain objectivity. Now, the way she proposes to not only nullify biases but be more mindful is to be skeptical of everything, always asking questions. And in terms of skepticism, she brings up a lot of things that you would think are a no-brainer, but you don't really think of them until they're told to you. She presents deduction as a science, establishing the scientific method as a crucial part of deduction early on, and continually establishes her claims in good science. However, she establishes and illustrates that in order for deduction to be used practically, the user must have a certain creativity, so that when theorizing, they can think outside the box and consider all possibilities. She presents the reader with thought-provoking statements that cause one to question the very way that they interact with people, make judgments, and process information. All in all, I cannot praise this book's positive aspects enough, and I can certainly say that I've greatly benefited from it. Already, I'm beginning to put the methods of mindfulness to good use in my daily life and deductions. Now, there's not all that much in terms of negative aspects of this book, to be honest. In fact, I only have two gripes about this book, and one of which was my own fault anyway. I had no problem with being shown where I fall short when being proposed with a thought experiment, nor did I find her tone condescending at all. In fact, her tone was very constructive and motivational. And in addition, there was rarely a dull moment with the book. I mean, with every page, I was ready for more. Well, mostly. Now, there was a point about 3/4 of the way into the book that I found it was hard to kind of follow her because she was using heavy terminology. Also, it was about that point where I felt she was needlessly reiterating certain points that had already been established. So it was kind of boring and hard to follow at that point. However, this didn't last too long, only a few pages really, and then it was back to being, well, really great and interesting again. So in a 270-something page book, a few pages of not-so-stellar writing is above average, definitely, and not really bad at all. And to be fair, perhaps it was simply the fact that I had been reading for so long, or the fact that the rest of the book had set the bar so high that when the writing quality dropped to average, I was shocked. Needless to say, that was really the only negative aspect that I found was inherently wrong with the book. Now, in all honesty, the other thing was completely my fault. As I said, there were some thought experiments scattered throughout the book, some of which entailed actually writing or drawing something, points at which you would actually have to take a pencil to the page of the book. Now, I wasn't able to do that since I was reading it off my Kindle. All in all, this is a great book, and after having considered the positive and negative aspects of the book itself, as well as how it has already impacted my deductive powers, I decided to give it a rating of 9 out of 10 and a reading recommendation to most certainly buy it, preferably in hard copy as to get the optimal usage out of it. As far as alternate reading recommendations, I point you to a couple of blogs that I came across in my early days of research that reference her book heavily, links to which you can find in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this review on Mastermind, How to Think Like Sherlock Holmes. If you liked this review and found it helpful, give it a like. Also, let me know in the comments below if you want to see more reviews like this one, and maybe give me some recommendations on what reading material to go over. I know at least one of you has already given me a recommendation of a book, and which I'm certainly going to look at and probably buy. Once again, thank you everyone so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy reading this book as much as I did. So, until next time, as always, arrivederci.